Last night, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert turned into a battleground when Representative Jasmine Crockett stepped into the spotlight, sparking a confrontation that ended with her dramatic walk-off. Sources say the Texas Congresswoman known for blunt talk and a rapid rise arrived, ready to take on the late-night host famed for sharp political humor. What was billed as a routine interview quickly spiraled into a headline-grabbing clash. Before we get into it, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe for more stories like this. Crockett isn't new to tough fights. She honed her edge as a lawyer before heading to Congress. Colbert opened with a jab, asking whether she was there to defend her record or just trade barbs. "I don't duck a challenge, Stephen," she shot back, turning the heat on him by questioning how often he avoids hard truths from behind his desk. The crowd felt the shift immediately, and reactions split the room. Tensions rose fast. Colbert rolled a clip of Crockett's latest viral moment, an incisive House speech dressing down an opponent. "That's some fire," he said. "But is it all heat, no light?" Crockett snapped back that her plans are clear to anyone listening, accusing him of chasing cheap laughs over substance. Insiders say producers spotted trouble early as the segment veered off the script within minutes. The buzz wasn't just the sparring, it was how quickly it turned raw. Crockett refused to play the smiling guest, and Colbert, usually in full command, began to lose footing. By the end of the opening exchange, reports say the audience was divided, some cheering, others stunned into silence. Pundits are already suggesting this changes how lawmakers approach late-night appearances. Was Crockett out to make a point? Or did it simply blow up? The night was only getting started, with sources hinting the real storm was still building as both dug in. That storm broke as Crockett and Colbert locked horns, turning a tense interview into a full-scale showdown. Sources say after Crockett accused him of dodging tough issues, he pushed back hard to regain control. What followed was a rapid-fire exchange that left producers scrambling and viewers glued to their screens as the Texas Congresswoman refused to let the conversation drift into safe waters. Colbert zeroed in on her record, pressing her on poverty in her district. "You're out there swinging in Congress," he said. "But what's getting done for your people?" She fired back without hesitation. "You think poverty gets fixed?" "Overnight, Stephen. I'm fighting for folks you'd rather joke about," she said. Pivoting to slam tax policies, she says favor elites he rubs shoulders with. The rebuttal split the audience against hers, clashing with uneasy murmurs, not backing down. Colbert raised a fictional ethics probe tied to her campaign, flashing a made-up headline for effect. "Care to clear that up?" he asked, leaning in. Crockett called it nonsense instantly. "That's a fairy tale your pals spun," she snapped, then flipped the script. "What about your show's sponsors? Pharma's writing checks, right?" Sources say that's when things went off the rails. Producers signaled for a break, but Crockett kept going. "You don't get to dodge this," a refusal to stop threw the show into disarray. Insiders report the crew was caught flat-footed by a guest this relentless. The audience fed the frenzy, their noise raising the stakes. While online, the clash was already trending and clips were piling up views. Analysts say Crockett's pushback wasn't just personal, it took aim at the media's polished facade, exposing cracks in the late-night formula. The biggest fireworks were still ahead. With the confrontation nearing a point of no return, the Late Show descended into chaos as Crockett drove the clash to a breaking point, turning a fiery exchange into a spectacle rewriting late-night lore. Sources say that after she refused to let producers cut away, her defiance sent the segment into a tailspin, leaving Colbert scrambling to keep pace. What followed wasn't just a TV spat, was a raw, unfiltered showdown that exposed the format's limits and left the crew and audience reeling. Colbert, clearly rattled, tried to pivot with a smirk. "You're keeping us on our toes, Jasmine," he said. before tossing out a fresh claim about a fictional donor dinner with oil tycoons. "How does that square with your champion of the people line?" he asked, flashing a blurry staged photo on screen as proof. Crockett didn't blink, dismantling it immediately. "That's a lie you'd buy, Stephen," she shot back. "It was a community event, not your oil fantasy. But let's talk about your game. Who's paying for this desk?" She gestured toward his sponsors, hinting at corporate ties, and the crowd erupted, some cheering, others shouting over each other. The accusation flipped the script, and insiders say that's when the room went electric. Crockett turned to face the audience directly. "This is what they don't want you to see," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "The mask's off. The game's up." Reports say a jolt ran through the studio as some fans jumped to their feet, phones out, filming the unraveling live. Colbert, losing his grip, slammed his desk, his cool cracking. "That's enough," he snapped. "You don't run this show." But Crockett wasn't fazed. "It's not your throne," she replied, stepping closer to the edge of the stage, her presence dominating the moment. Producers waved security forward, signals frantic, but the feed stayed live, broadcasting the mess to millions. Sources say the crew split, some wanting to cut, others seeing ratings gold and letting it roll. Colbert tried to interrupt, but Crockett kept going, accusing him of peddling a sanitized version of truth. "You're not a reporter, you're a frontman," she said, each word landing harder. The audience became a powder keg roars of support, clashing with boos while one voice from the back yelled, "Finish him." Offstage, a producer reportedly muttered, "We've lost it." As the segment turned into a free-for-all, the tipping point came when Colbert, voice tight, muttered, "Get her out." A slip the mics caught clearly. Crockett spun on him, eyes blazing. "You don't tell me when I'm done," she said, ripping off her mic and tossing it down, the thud echoing as security hesitated. Sources say the guards froze, unsure how to approach a congresswoman mid-broadcast, while the crowd's noise hit a fever pitch. Online reactions poured in real time. Clips of her stand racked up thousands of shares, with posts calling it the moment TV broke. Analysts jumped on it, saying Crockett had turned a guest spot into a referendum on media power, exposing how fragile late-night polish is when someone kicks back. The feed finally cut, but not before the damage was set. Insiders report the studio fell silent for a beat, Colbert staring at the chaos left behind while Crockett's exit was already reshaping the narrative. Political watchers called it a calculated strike, a signal she's not here to play nice, while others wondered if Colbert's team misread their guest. The night's fallout was just starting, with the internet and airwaves set to ignite over what it all means. The aftermath of Representative Jasmine Crockett's clash with Stephen Colbert on The Late Show hit like a tidal wave. Her mic drop, exit left the studio in disarray, and the story exploding across every platform. Sources say that as Crockett stormed off, declaring, "You don't tell me when I'm done," Colbert was left staring at an empty stage, the live feed cutting to black. What followed was a frenzy that turned a late-night bust-up into a cultural flashpoint. Insiders report the crew went into overdrive as the broadcast ended, with producers racing to manage the fallout. Colbert stayed silent post-show, retreating backstage while his team grappled with a 40% ratings surge, the night's chaos pulling in viewers in droves. Crockett, meanwhile, didn't pause, tweeting minutes later, "They can't hush the truth." The post blew up, hitting 60,000 retweets by dawn, with Crockett Strikes Back trending as clips flooded X and beyond. Online, the reaction split. Hard supporters crowned Crockett a legend, one viral video dubbing her the Reckoning. Late night needed, while critics slammed it as a tantrum, accusing her of hijacking the show for clout. Analysts weighed in quickly, calling it a power shift. "She broke the guest mold," one said, showing these platforms aren't invincible. For Colbert, it's a dent. Sources say he's irritated, with his team preparing a statement to frame it as spirited debate. Crockett's camp is claiming victory. Insiders hint she's plotting her next move, possibly a rival TV appearance, to keep the momentum. The buzz has her district buzzing, with calls pouring in urging her back on late night. It's a double-edged win. Ratings soared, but the hit to the show's sheen stings. Pundits say late night might either brace for more guests like her or clamp down. Either way, Crockett's walk-off rewrote the rules. And the fallout has only begun. The saga of Representative Jasmine Crockett's explosive exit from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert didn't fade with the morning headlines. It's grown into a full-on phenomenon, with ripples reaching far beyond last night's chaos. Sources say what began as a fiery clash has become a lightning rod for debate, reshaping how people view late-night TV, political power, and Crockett herself. Days later, the story is still unfolding, with new layers revealing what it all means. In the immediate aftermath, the internet turned into a battlefield. By noon, Crockett's tweet, "They can't hush the truth," had surpassed 100,000 retweets. And fan edits of her mic drop were racking up millions of views on TikTok. Supporters flooded her office with messages, one constituent calling her the voice we've been waiting for, while a grassroots petition circulated to get her on more shows. Critics doubled down, with one conservative blog branding her a loose cannon who burned a bridge for attention. The split fueled hours of online arguments, as memes of Colbert's stunned face captioned, "When your guest goes rogue," went viral. Alongside Crockett's now iconic walk-off, Colbert's camp, meanwhile, shifted gears. Sources say the host taped a follow-up monologue the next night, framing the clash as a lively night that got away from us, an effort to reclaim the narrative. Ratings held strong, with analysts noting a younger demographic tuned in by the unscripted drama. But the bruise to his reputation lingers. Pundits speculate he'll think twice before tangling with a guest like Crockett again. One insider hinted the booking team is already rethinking its approach, debating whether to chase more firebrands or play it safe. Crockett is leveraging the moment hard. Reports claim she's in talks for a primetime interview, possibly on a rival network where she could unpack the clash and her broader fight against media spin. Political watchers say this could catapult her profile, with whispers of a 2026 Senate bid gaining traction. She's turned a TV slot into a movement, one strategist noted, pointing to her district's energized base. Her silence on the fictional accusations Colbert raised Death X probes, donor dinners, has only stoked the fire, letting supporters fill the void with praise while detractors stew. The bigger picture has experts buzzing. Late-night TV long, a bastion of controlled satire, may be at a crossroads. Some predict networks will tighten guest prep to avoid another derailment, while others foresee a tilt toward raw, riskier content to keep pace with streaming platforms. Crockett showed the cracks, a media professor said on a podcast. These shows thrive on power, but she flipped it. For viewers, it's a divide. Half cheer her as a truth-teller, half mourn the loss of late night's polish. Either way, the clash has legs, and its echo is likely to shape the airwaves for months. So where does this leave us? Crockett's star is rising, Colbert is recalibrating, and the late-night game is in flux. Stick around, this story is far from over. If you're hooked on wild tales like this, hit subscribe and join the ride.